Hey, Motorman here. If you just wandered on this channel by some strange twist of fate, I'm a motor officer instructor, now retired, and I'm the guy who makes the Ride Like a Pro video that teaches you, the average rider, the police motor officer techniques. Police motor officers are top 2% of riders in America. And when I finished motor school, I said everybody who rides should know these techniques. And I've been teaching them now for like 23 years. And I get a lot of people say, well, you know, I don't ride around cones in a parking lot. I ride out on the street. Well, the reason we practice in the parking lot is to show you how to avoid obstacles. We use the cones. The cones are the obstacles. Out on the street, it's the car, a dog that runs out in front of you, a pothole, any number of things that you have to avoid and do it very quickly. If you'd never practiced any of that, how good could you possibly be at it? And I tell people, some of you might go to the shooting range and you practice shooting at a paper target. Are you thinking that sometime a paper target is going to break into your house and do a home invasion? Of course not. But when you're at the range, you're practicing your sight alignment, sight picture, you're trying to hit the target, trigger control, so many things. And that's why we practice in a range, and this is why we practice in a parking lot, because it would be impractical to do it out on the street. Out on the street, you're coming towards an intersection at 40, 50 miles an hour. There's a car waiting to turn left, suddenly turns left in front of you. Is this the time to find out if you're able to avoid that vehicle by leaning, turning, and swerving? Of course not. That's why we practice in a parking lot. So let's go to the parking lot and I'll show you a couple of things. This is the first exercise we try, and we use the flat cones at first. The idea is to dip the motorcycle and weave through those cones. Very similar to if you're cruising down the road and there's a line of parked cars to your right, somebody suddenly opens the door in front of you. If you've never practiced this before, yeah, you're going to probably smash right into it. This rider's doing a little bit better. Each time they go through, they get better and better. Once the riders get comfortable weaving through the smaller cones, we move to the bigger cones. They're 15 feet apart, same as the smaller cones. However, if you don't dip enough, you're going to wind up knocking over the cones with your bags. This rider's she's improved quite a bit, but she's still not dipping quite enough to avoid obstacles in the real world. We'll work on this for 30 to 40 minutes until every rider gets it and feels comfortable with that slight weave. This rider's getting much better, really dipping that bike. In this exercise, the rider has to make quick left to right transitions, very similar to what you'd find on a severely winding road. The idea is to get your head around quickly and transition, feel that bike transition quickly from left to right and right to left. Again, if you've never practiced this and the first time you get out on a winding road and you think you're going too fast to make the curves, well, what's going to happen? You're going to run right off the road. In fact, that's the most common motorcycle crash that involves just the rider, called failure to negotiate a curve. It takes usually 4 or 5 times through for each rider to get this just right to where they're really transitioning quickly. Without this type of practice, well, out on the road, you're in deep trouble. That rider just missed a gate, didn't turn his head and eyes fast enough, and head and eyes is probably the most important of the low-speed techniques because you're going to use it at all speeds. If you don't turn your head and eyes quick enough, you wind up running off the road. Very common. Now let's watch this rider. She's afraid to lean the motorcycle, so she's trying to keep that bike as straight up as possible. She makes it through the first turn. Now think of this, like I said, as a severely winding road. So what happens if you don't let the bike lean? Well, you have to slow down so much, you got to put a foot down. Now, if somebody's coming up behind you, there's a good chance they're going to hit you in the back. You got to get over that fear of leaning the bike, and we do it under controlled conditions. In this exercise, it's called the intersection. We're practicing our U-turns and our quick transitions. If you get below 5 miles an hour, no power to the rear wheel, down goes the motorcycle. You don't want that tip over to happen in the street, as a car could just run you right over. Here's the same rider. After 4 or 5 times through the intersection, he's starting to get the hang of it. It takes practice to handle the bike skillfully. That's what we're doing here. We're practicing, learning technique for situations out on the street. If you've never practiced and all you could do is cruise straight on down the road, make great big wide turns once in a while and come to a nice easy stop, that's not going to help you when something gets in your way. As the riders keep going through the exercise, they start getting the hang of it. They get better and better. It just takes a little bit of practice. Here's our rider that's been having some problems throughout, but she's starting to get the idea to turn her head and eyes, allow the motorcycle to lean, and look only where she wants to go. In this case, she wants to go to that green tipped cone, and as soon as she gets there, she's got to snap her head and eyes and make that turn, and she does it. It takes some riders a little bit longer to get it, but those are the riders that need even more practice. If you get frustrated and you quit, you're never going to get any better. It's simply a matter of turning your head and eyes, and at these speeds we're using the friction zone, a little bit of pressure on the rear brake, and really that's all there is to it. Turn your head and eyes, the faster and further you turn your head and eyes, the better. How important is head and eyes? You tell me. He looked at the guardrail and he hit it. But wait, there's more. Gets back on the bike, his friend helps him. 5 minutes later, he does the same thing again. Get some training, folks. Learn some technique. If you want to become a better, safer rider, we've got a special for you. This is Shortcuts to Riding Like a Pro video and Surviving the Mean Streets video. This video, Surviving the Mean Streets, will show you exactly why you did particular exercises and relate it to real-world situations. And it comes with the Ride Like a Pro practice guide, so you'll know exactly how to set up all the exercises. If you want to come to one of my classes, just go to ridelikeapro.com and click on Classes with Motorman. Now these videos are available in DVD or download for the same price. 2 for $20 plus $5 shipping. If you get the download, make sure you download the practice guide as well. It's free.